Jack sat in his cozy home in the suburbs of Boston, looking at an old photo album. Each page captured the moments of happiness he shared with his wife Lisa and best friend Tom. Suddenly, his gaze fell on one of the recent photos where Lisa and Tom were laughing together. This photo became for him the point of departure into the abyss of suspicion. Mentally, something is wrong. Why are they so close in this photo? Am I missing something? These thoughts haunted him. He decided to check Lisa's phone while she was in the shower. Having found her phone, Jack began scrolling through the messages and suddenly came across a correspondence with Tom. His heart sank when he read the candid messages full of love and passion. Mentally, it can't be. This is a nightmare. Why Tom? Why Lisa? He dropped the phone and fell onto the couch, feeling like the world was collapsing around him. That evening, Jack decided to talk to Lisa. He could no longer endure these painful doubts. Lisa, we need to talk. Now. Wary. What happened, Jack? You look worried. With tears in her eyes. I know everything, Lisa. I read your messages with Tom. Turning pale. Jack, it's not what you think. Shouting. Not what I think? You betrayed me with my best friend. How could you? I'm confused. It's all so complicated. Tom happened to be there when you were busy with your work. This is not an excuse. You destroyed everything we built over the years. Crying. I understand that I made a terrible mistake. Please forgive me, Jack. With pain. Excuse me? How can I forgive you after all this? You and Tom betrayed me in the most terrible way. He left the house, slamming the door, and went to the bar to try to drown his pain in alcohol. His whole world collapsed, and he did not know how to cope with this pain and betrayal. Tom, having learned about what had happened, immediately went to Lisa. He knew that she would be in a terrible state and that she would need support. Quietly, comfortingly. Lisa, are you okay? I found out about Jack. Crying. Tom, everything has collapsed. He knows everything. He will never forgive me. Hugging her. I'm here, Lisa. We can handle it. We can start again. Together. Through tears. How? How can we live after all this? Decisively. We will find a way. Let's try to live together. I won't leave you alone in this. Quietly. Thank you, Tom. I don't know what I would do without you. They sat together in silence, arms wrapped around each other, trying to find solace in the chaos. How do you like the sequel? Would you like to add or change anything in these scenes? Tom approached Lisa's house. She opened the door and he saw her face, red from tears. Tom hugged Lisa and whispered, Lisa, I'm here. Everything will be fine. We'll figure it out. Through tears. Tom, I'm so confused. What should I do? Calming. Let's start by being there for each other. I suggest you move in with me. We'll get through this together. The bar was dimly lit, and the smell of tobacco smoke and cheap whiskey hung in the air. Jack sat in the corner, away from the rest of the visitors. He was wearing a dark leather jacket, with an unshaven face and red eyes. In front of him stood an almost empty glass of whiskey, and next to him was a bottle from which he had poured himself more than once. Jack took the glass and took a long sip, feeling the alcohol burn his throat and dull the pain in his heart a little. He lowered his head, looking at the reflection in the glass of the table. Quietly, to himself. How could she do this? Lisa. Damn it. How? The bartender, noticing his condition, approached the table. He was an older man with gray hair and tired eyes who had seen the likes of Jack too often. Sympathetic. Hey, buddy, maybe that's enough for today? You've already had enough to drink. Jack looked up and met the bartender's gaze. Pain, betrayal, and hopelessness were visible in his eyes. Bitterly. Enough? How can you stop when the whole world is collapsing? My wife cheated on me, with my best friend. Laughs bitterly. And how can I continue to live now? The bartender sighed, knowing that words would not help, but he tried anyway. Sorry to hear that, but alcohol will not help you forget. It will only make everything worse. Jack. Decisively. Then give me another one. Maybe it will help numb this pain at least for a while. The bartender reluctantly poured another glass, watching as Jack raised it to his lips again and took a long sip. Jack leaned back in his chair, closing his eyes, and lost himself in thought. To himself, why? Why did she choose him? He was my friend. We shared everything. And now? Now what? Memories of happy moments with Lisa, of trust and love that seemed indestructible, flashed through my head. But now it was all destroyed, like a house of cards. Jack opened his eyes and looked around the bar. Life around continued. People laughed, talked, drank. But for him, time seemed quietly. Should I just leave? Start all over again, away from this nightmare. But thoughts of revenge continued to haunt him, giving him no rest. Jack knew that a difficult path lay ahead of him, but now he wanted only one thing: to forget, even for a few hours. Raising a glass. To you, Lisa. I hope you're happy. He drank to the bottom and put the glass down on the table with a thud, feeling his eyes fill with tears. But he did not let them spill, gritting his teeth and deciding that he would not show weakness, even if no one was around. To himself. Tomorrow I will decide what to do. But today I just drink. With these thoughts, he poured himself another glass, plunging into drunken oblivion, hoping that at least for a moment the pain would go away. Jack spent another 3 hours at the bar, slowly drinking glass after glass until he felt he could no longer sit still. Alcohol filled his mind, clouding reality and giving him a false sense of security. He pulled money out of his pocket, threw it on the table, and without saying goodbye to the bartender, walked towards the exit, swaying on his feet. Going outside, Jack saw a parked motorcycle. He slowly approached it, looking around. No one was visible, and at that moment it seemed to him that this was a sign. Jack, to himself, grinning. Well, let's see what you can do. With difficulty getting on the motorcycle, Jack found the keys left in the ignition. He turned them, and the engine roared loudly. A smile crossed his face, and he abruptly moved away, driving out onto the empty night road. Look, everyone! I'm alive! He increased his speed, feeling the wind hitting his face and adrenaline flooding his blood. The speed increased, and soon he was racing along the highway at a speed of 200 km/h, not thinking about the consequences. To hell with you, Lisa and Tom. To hell with you all. But behind every cry there was pain. Jack felt like he was losing control of his life, and the motorcycle became a way for him to escape reality, even if only for a few minutes. As he drove past empty streets and closed shops, he remembered all the moments he shared with Lisa and Tom, and it only made his pain worse. His thoughts flickered between anger and despair. Should I just move far away and never come back? Start all over again without them? But deep down he knew that he couldn't run away from his problems. Suddenly he felt himself lose control of the motorcycle. A sharp turn, squeaking tires, and the motorcycle began to skid. Crap. The motorcycle swerved, and Jack flew out of the saddle, falling onto the asphalt at great speed. He rolled down the road until he stopped, lying motionless on the cold ground. Pain shot through his body, but at that moment, all he could feel was relief. Maybe it's even better. A few minutes later, he heard the sounds of sirens. The police and ambulance were approaching. At the last moment before losing consciousness, he thought that he needed to change his life if he was given another chance. Jack opened his eyes and saw the white ceiling of the hospital room. There were medical devices around him that monitored his condition. The room was quiet, only the faint hum of the machines breaking the silence. Whispers. Where am I? The nurse, hearing his voice, approached him. Good morning, Mr. Jackson. You are in the hospital. You had a serious incident, but you are safe. Jack nodded, feeling the pain begin to subside thanks to the medication. He closed his eyes, realizing that this was his chance to change everything, a chance to start over and become better. Jack opened his eyes and saw the white ceiling of the hospital room. There were medical devices around him that monitored his condition. The room was quiet, only the faint hum of the machines breaking the silence. The nurse, hearing his movement, approached him. Nurse, with a smile. You woke up. How are you feeling?" Jack was silent, his thoughts preoccupied with the events of the previous night. He couldn't understand how he got to this point. The pain all over his body reminded him of what had happened, but there was one thing in his head. He needed to change his life. Quietly, "I made a big mistake. Seriously. You got a second chance. Not everyone is so lucky." Jack nodded, realizing her words. He closed his eyes, took a deep breath, and realized that now he had time to think and reconsider his life. He remembered Lisa, Tom, their betrayal, and his reaction. To himself, "I have to change something. Recognition and a new path." After a few days, Jack began to recover. Laura, a nurse, became his constant support. They talked a lot, and Jack felt that he had found in her not only a medical professional, but also someone who truly cared. "Laura, I am grateful for everything you have done for me. You should thank yourself for choosing to fight. I want to start a new life. I need to get rid of the past and start over. I believe in you." A few days later, Jack was walking down the street, enjoying the cool morning. He had already begun to feel that life was slowly getting better. However, when he turned the corner, his gaze fell on Lisa and Tom, who were standing outside the cafe, happily talking and kissing. Jack froze in place, his heart again filled with anger and resentment. He tried to calm down, but the sight of their happiness, as if nothing had happened, threw him off balance. Fury began to flare up inside him. To himself, "How can they do this? After everything that happened?" In a fit of anger, he walked towards them with quick steps, not thinking about the consequences. Lisa and Tom were confused when they saw him. They didn't even have time to understand what was happening when Jack attacked Tom, shouting, "You are a traitor! You ruined my life!" Tom tried to fight back, but Jack was too strong and full of rage. Lisa screamed, trying to stop them. Panicked, "Jack, stop, please!" Passers-by began to stop to see what was happening. Jack threw the first punch right at Tom's face, causing him to stagger back. Blood gushed from his nose, but he quickly came to his senses and tried to fight back. Through gritted teeth, "Jack, calm down!" But Jack didn't listen. He hit Tom again, this time in the stomach, causing him to double over. Tom tried to hit back, but Jack deftly dodged and grabbed him by the collar, pushing him against the wall. Passers-by began to scream. Someone tried to separate them, but no one dared to come too close. Jack continued to strike, each time with renewed vigor. Tom, weakened and beaten, tried to defend himself, but to no avail. Lisa, unable to bear it, rushed between them, trying to stop the fight, crying, "Stop it! Please, stop!" Jack, suddenly realizing what he was doing, stopped. His fists shook and his breathing was heavy. Tom, covered in bruises and cuts, could hardly stand on his feet. Blood ran down his face and he looked at Jack with surprise and fear. A few minutes later, the police arrived and separated them. Jack, covered in bruises and cuts, was breathing heavily. He realized that he had once again given free rein to his emotions and given in to his anger. Policeman, sternly, "What's going on here?" Lowering his head. "Sorry. That's my fault. I shouldn't have done that." Tom, still catching his breath from the attack, looked at Jack with pity. Tom, through pain, "We didn't want it to turn out like this." The police quickly separated them and took them in different directions, trying to prevent another fight. Lisa stood to the side, crying and not knowing what to do. Her world collapsed, and she realized that the consequences of their actions were much more serious than she could have imagined. Police lights illuminate the street, and the sound of sirens breaks the silence of the night. Lisa and Tom's screams attracted the attention of neighbors, who called the police. The patrol car stops abruptly, and 2 officers rush out, heading towards the scene. Policeman holds taser. "Stay put! Drop your weapons!" Jack, in a state of rage, continues to fight Tom. The police approach, and one of them immediately uses a taser. An electrical discharge pierces Jack's body, and he falls to the ground, losing consciousness. Crying, "Oh, Lord, what have you done?" Calmly, "It's okay, ma'am. We simply neutralized the threat." The police handcuff Jack and lift him up to take him to the squad car. Lisa and Tom stand aside, clearly shocked by what happened. To Lisa and Tom, You need to come with us to the station and give evidence. Lisa and Tom nod silently as they get into another patrol car. Jack, still under the influence of the taser, begins to come to in the police car. Jack, weak voice. What happened? Where am I? You're under arrest for assault. You will have every opportunity to explain your actions at the station. The patrol car with Jack starts moving, heading to the police station. The anxiety and concern on the faces of Lisa and Tom clearly indicate that what happened left a deep mark on their lives. The courtroom is filled with people. Jack sits in the dock, looking out from under the weight of his thoughts. Lisa and Tom sit in the front row, avoiding Jack's gaze. Jack's lawyer prepares for his defense while the prosecutor opens the case. Your Honor, you have a case of aggravated assault. The defendant, Jack, was caught in flagrante delicto when he brutally attacked Tom, a family friend. We have evidence and statements from the victim, as well as witnesses to the incident. Thank you, prosecutor. Defense attorney, do you have anything to say? Your Honor, my client is going through a difficult time in his life. He learned of betrayal by his wife and best friend, which left him in a state of emotional shock and despair. We are asking for a reduced sentence given the circumstances and his clean record. The judge looks at the documents and case materials, then looks up at Jack. Jack, is there anything you want to say before I pass judgment? Your Honor, I made a terrible mistake. I lost control of myself due to the betrayal I experienced. I've never hurt anyone before. Please take this into account when deciding your sentence. The judge sighs and closes his eyes for a moment, contemplating what he heard. It's a complicated matter, all things considered. However, assaulting a person is a serious crime, regardless of the reasons. I impose a sentence of 6 months probation with mandatory counseling and participation in an anger management program. Additionally, you will be required to reimburse Tom for medical expenses. The courtroom fills with whispers. Lisa and Tom exchange tense glances, and Jack looks depressed but understanding. The trial is over. Thanks to all. Everyone begins to leave the courtroom. Jack, feeling a mixture of relief and disappointment, slowly walks out, realizing that he has a difficult road of recovery and acceptance ahead of him. Lisa and Tom are sitting in a cafe discussing their next strategy. They look worried, trying to hide their true emotions. Whispers. Tom, I can't live in fear anymore. Jack can still hurt us, even with probation. I understand. He's unpredictable. We need to make sure he can't bother us anymore. How can we do this? We can't just send him to jail without a good reason. We need to create a situation where he breaks the law again. This is the only way we can achieve stricter punishment. Doubtful. But this is wrong. I don't want to set him up, although maybe this is the only way out. Lisa, this is for our safety. If we don't do this, he may come back and harm us again. We must protect ourselves and our family. Lisa looks at Tom for a long time, then slowly nods. Okay, what do we need to do? Tom and Lisa are sitting in their house, going over the details of the plan. They discuss how they can provoke Jack into violating his probation. We must be careful. Any mistake can ruin everything. We need something that will definitely make him lose his temper. Maybe set a trap for him, make him think I'm in danger and that will make him act rashly. Yes, this could work. If he thinks that you are in danger, he will definitely rush to your aid without thinking about the consequences. But how can we organize this? I have a friend who can help us with this. He will be able to create a situation that will look realistic enough for Jack to believe. Sighing. Okay, if this is truly the only way, I agree. Lisa and Tom are sitting opposite Dan, Tom's friend who works as a private investigator. They are tense, trying to hide their anxiety. Dan examines them, realizing the gravity of the situation. Calmly. So, you want me to help you stage an attack? It's a risky business, but I understand why you want to do it. Yes, we want Jack to believe that Lisa is in danger. This is the only way to make him break and violate his probation. Lisa, we see no other way out. He's too dangerous to remain free. Dan. Okay, I will help you. But you must understand that this must be done very carefully so that no one gets hurt and everything looks believable. Tom. We understand. We trust you completely. Dan. I have an idea on how to do this. We'll make a scene in the park. It would be a public place, but private enough that Jack wouldn't immediately realize it was a trap. Lisa, what exactly are we going to do? Dan, confidently. We'll create a situation where you, Lisa, will look like you're being attacked. I will select a suitable person to play the role of attacker who will look convincing enough but will not harm you. Tom, Lisa, are you sure you can do this? Lisa, yes, I'm ready. For our sake, for our safety. Exterior. Park. Late evening. It's getting dark in the park. Lisa, dressed in simple clothes, sits on a bench looking around. Jack's silhouette is seen in the distance, sneaking away after receiving an anonymous message about an attack. Dan, in a whisper, over the radio. Lisa, get ready. Jack is already on his way. Lisa, whispers, nervous. Okay, I'm ready. Suddenly, an attacker, a dummy man dressed in dark clothes, runs up to Lisa. He grabs her hand and Lisa begins to scream, feigning panic. Lisa, screaming, "Help! Someone!" Jack, running in, screaming, "Leave her alone!" Jack rushes at the attacker, starting to fight him. The fight looks realistic, but the figurehead skillfully controls the situation without harming Jack. Dan, on radio. The police are on their way. Everything goes according to plan. Exterior. Park. The appearance of the police. Police cars approach the park. The officers run out of their cars, pointing their guns at Jack. "Hands up! Immediately!" Jack, stopping, surprised. "What? It's all a misunderstanding. On your knees, hands behind your head." Jack obeys, realizing he's caught. The police handcuff him and take him to the car. Lisa approaches Tom and Dan, who are watching from a distance. Everything is over. Now he won't be able to bother us anymore. I hope we made the right choice. It was risky, but you did what you had to do. Now you have a chance for a new life. Jack sits at the table, his hands in handcuffs. He is nervous, realizing that he has been lured into a trap. Detective Martinez sits in front of him, looking at him with suspicion. "So, Jack, do you understand the situation you're in right now? It's all a setup. They set it all up." Detective Martinez, leaning closer. "We have witnesses who saw you attack a man in the park, and this isn't the first time you've been in trouble with the law." "I didn't attack. I tried to protect Lisa. It's all Tom and his dummy striker. They made me look guilty." Detective Martinez, skeptically. "Why should I believe you and not the numerous witnesses and the injured party?" Jack, desperately. "Because it's true. Lisa was in danger and I tried to help her. Police station corridor." Jack sits on the bench waiting for his turn at the court hearing. It occurs to him that he could lose everything: his freedom, the opportunity to see friends and loved ones. Interior. Courtroom. Day. Jack stands before the court. His lawyer, Mr. Harper, tries to explain the situation. Mr. Harper. Lawyer. "Your Honor, my client acted in a state of passion, thinking he was protecting his wife. He meant no harm." Judge, sternly. "However, Mr. Harper, your client broke the law, and we have evidence of his violent actions. We cannot close our eyes to this." Interior, police station, camera, night. Jack sits in his cell looking at the ceiling. His thoughts race at the speed of light, remembering all the moments that led him to this point. He realizes that his life has changed forever. Jack, to himself. "How did I end up in this situation? How could Lisa and Tom deceive me like that?" Police station, camera, morning. The next day, Jack is awakened by the noise of the cell doors. A policeman comes in to pick him up. Policeman. "Seriously, it's time to go, Jack. The court hearing is scheduled for today. Interior, courtroom, day." Lisa and Tom sit in the courtroom, holding each other's hands. They look calm and confident. Jack enters, trying not to look at them. Judge, sternly. "After considering all the evidence and testimony, the court finds you, Jack Wilson, guilty of assault. You are sentenced to 2 years in prison." Shocked. "No, it is not true. I am not guilty." Strictly. "Order in the hall. The court's decision is final." Police station, camera, evening. Jack returns to his cell, realizing that his life has been ruined. He understands that he has lost not only his freedom, but also his trust in people. Now I have only one thing left to do. Try to survive these 2 years and start all over again. Lisa and Tom leave the courthouse. Lisa sighs with relief, and Tom hugs her, trying to calm her down. It's over now. We can start again. Tom, smiling. Yes, now we have a chance for a new life, and no one can stop us. Jack is left alone with his thoughts and the prison walls. He understands that he has made many mistakes, but he still has a chance to correct himself. Lisa and Tom begin a new chapter in their lives, hoping that now they can live peacefully and happily. Lisa and Tom return home after the court hearing. The house is illuminated by sunlight, symbolizing the beginning of their new life. Lisa looks relaxed, feeling free from stress and fear for the first time in a long time. Lisa and Tom enter the house, and Lisa immediately heads to the kitchen to cook something special. Tom follows her, hugging her from behind and kissing her neck tenderly. We did it, Lisa. Now we have a chance to start over. Yes, Tom. I feel like a huge weight has finally been lifted from my shoulders. Lisa begins to prepare their favorite dish, and Tom helps her, briskly chopping vegetables. They laugh and chat as if they are back in time when their relationship began. Tom, jokingly, do you remember the first time we cooked this dish together? You almost burned the kitchen down then. Lisa, laughing, yes, but you saved me, as always. You were always there when I needed you. Lisa and Tom are sitting on the sofa, hugging each other, enjoying the evening. Tom turns on the movie and they watch it together, taking notes and laughing at the funny parts. Lisa, thoughtfully, you know, Tom, I never thought that I could be so happy. We've been through a lot, but now I know it was all worth it. Tom, softly, yes, Lisa. Now we can build our lives without fear and doubt. Lisa and Tom go to bed. I feel calm and peaceful. They hug each other, realizing that now they have everything they need to be happy. Tom whispers, I love you, Lisa, and I will always be there. Lisa, gently, I love you too, Tom. Thank you for always being my protector. Lisa and Tom fall asleep holding hands. Their new life is just beginning, and they are ready to go together through all the trials that may come their way. They know that now they have a chance for true happiness and love, and no one can separate them. And Tom is now in prison for 10 years,